Hello everyone, welcome back. There are many factors that can influence our lifespan, from diseases, natural disasters, and accidents to the daily pressures of life. All of these can shorten our years on Earth. However, one of the most common and deeply rooted behaviors that quietly drains our life force, yet is hardest to change, is the indulgence in lust and sexual desire. Today's sharing is an important reflection on self-cultivation, awareness, and living a long, harmonious life. If you listen with sincerity, you may discover something truly valuable. Let's begin with a simple truth. Semen is formed from sperm and seminal fluid. Sperm originates from the testicles and combines with fluids from the seminal vesicles, prostate gland, and bulbourethral glands to form semen. This fluid contains fructose, proteins, fats, enzymes, minerals, and essential elements such as zinc. For most adult men, each ejaculation releases about 3 to 6 milliliters of semen containing tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of sperm cells. When the sperm count drops below 20 million, it may affect fertility. Sexual activity itself has 5 important dimensions that are often overlooked. Reproduction, the instinct to continue the human lineage. Pleasure, the joy and satisfaction that arise from intimacy. Emotional connection, strengthening the bond and affection between partners. Health and longevity. When practiced harmoniously, it can support vitality and well-being. Spiritual balance, through the union of masculine and feminine energy, one can achieve harmony between body, mind, and soul, and thus align with nature and the universe. But here's a deeper question. Where does our life energy go? According to the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine, one of the oldest texts on health and philosophy, human beings are born with an innate energy called Tian Gui, the heavenly essence. It embodies the balance of yin and yang, and it transcends all opposites. This life energy exists in 4 forms: essence, Jing, vital energy, qi, spirit, shen, and heavenly energy. Theoretically, humans are meant to live up to 120 years. Yet, few of us reach that many, lose decades of life along the way. So where does that lost time go? During the Tang Dynasty, the famous physician Sun Simiao once said, "Anyone who wishes to heal the world must first master the art of nourishing life within the chamber." The essence of that teaching lies in preserving vital energy, Jing. When Jing is abundant, a person is full of vitality, mental clarity, and resistance to illness. Whether one practices physical health, mindfulness, or spiritual cultivation, the preservation of Jing remains central. It sustains both body and mind, ensuring clarity, energy, and longevity. In ancient philosophy, nourishing life was called nurturing essence, the act of guarding and refining the sacred energy granted by heaven. This energy nourishes both the visible and invisible parts of our being. It feeds our blood, our flesh, and our spirit, keeping us vibrant, alive, and radiant. Jing is considered the root of life, just as water is to trees or roots are to plants. When Jing is full, the body is strong, the mind is clear, and the spirit shines. When Jing is depleted, one becomes weak, tired, and unstable. Our modern lifestyle, full of stress, overindulgence, and irregular habits, often exhausts this essence. In contrast, the ancients developed methods to regulate and protect it through 5 key stages: avoiding haste and impulsiveness, limiting the frequency of ejaculation, reducing the quantity of release, replenishing lost energy, and continuously nourishing the Jing. These methods were known collectively as nurturing essence or preserving life energy. Think of Jing like air in a balloon. When full, the balloon is elastic, vibrant, and full of life. When empty, it becomes soft and lifeless. Likewise, when your Jing is abundant, your spirit is bright. When it is drained, fatigue and weakness follow. Jing also has a profound effect on bone health. In youth, bones are dense and strong. Even a fall may not cause much harm. But in old age, when the marrow dries and calcium decreases, bones become brittle and fragile. That is why maintaining and protecting Jing energy is vital. It helps preserve bone strength, vitality, and overall well-being. Ultimately, preserving your essence, energy, and spirit is preserving your life itself. When the body is full of Jing, the mind is calm, the heart is light, and the years flow gently with strength and grace. Whether we use it wisely or waste it carelessly, every aspect of our reproductive energy affects our overall health and vitality. When this function remains dormant for too long, or when it's excessively overused, its natural strength gradually weakens. That's why the ancients always emphasized moderation in sexual life, not as a rule of restraint, but as a way of nurturing one's vital essence, or Jing. Jing can be compared to the energy circuit of the body. Maintaining and preserving it not only strengthens health, but also extends longevity and improves the quality of life. Sexual activity itself is a natural human phenomenon, but every act of ejaculation also represents a loss of energy. Especially beyond the reproductive years, when no longer serving the purpose of procreation, frequent ejaculation without balance can slowly harm one's physical and mental health. The ancient principle of when something reaches its extreme, it reverses its course applies here as well. The sensation of orgasm, though extremely pleasurable, often comes with a rapid discharge of energy, followed by fatigue or weakness of spirit. That is why the wise of old taught self-restraint and inner regulation, not to suppress pleasure, but to transform it into nourishment for the body and mind. In traditional Eastern medicine, Jing, or reproductive essence, is also known as Tiangui, the heavenly gift. In Taoist philosophy, this same energy is called the inner elixir, or the outer elixir, referring to the life force that fuels existence. It functions like bioelectric energy, circulating through the body and driving the rhythm of life. In Taoist practices, this energy is guided and refined to flow smoothly through the body's channels, helping to balance yin and yang. When yin and yang are in harmony, the body and mind become calm, steady, and radiant. This is what Taoists call rebirth within life, a renewal of energy from within. Modern research has revealed something fascinating. The composition of semen is remarkably similar to that of cerebrospinal fluid, which surrounds and nourishes the brain and spinal cord. This discovery supports what ancient Taoist masters already understood, that the vital essence and the marrow, sui, are deeply interconnected. In Taoist terms, Jing and the brain are one continuous system. The loss of one weakens the other. Excessive loss of Jing not only shortens lifespan, but also dulls the mind, weakens concentration, and clouds intelligence. That's why sexual moderation was believed to sharpen clarity, enhance wisdom, and uplift both individuals and entire communities. Looking back in history, many kings and nobles, despite their wealth and luxury, rarely lived beyond 40. Their short lives were not the result of fate, but of indulgence and excess. A life of unrestrained pleasure drained their essence, exhausted their minds, and eventually led to the decline of their memory, intellect, and vitality. On the other hand, nations like the Jewish people have long placed great importance on family stability and moral discipline. Their emphasis on balance and restraint has been closely linked to their consistently high levels of intelligence across generations. As the philosopher Zhuangzi once said, "When people unite in clarity, wisdom flourishes. When virtue is honored, the spirit shines." Such words remind us that preserving Jing is not merely about physical health, it is also about maintaining mental sharpness and spiritual depth. Semen, often called the essence of a man, contains numerous nutrients vital to health. But beyond the proteins, amino acids, and minerals lies something far more subtle, the microscopic life energy that Taoism refers to as Jing. It cannot be replaced simply through diet or supplements. It is cultivated through awareness, discipline, and harmony of body and mind. Even in nature, we can see the price of reproduction. Certain species, like male flies, die immediately after mating. Male mantises are often eaten by their partners during or after copulation. These examples illustrate a profound truth. The act of creation always carries the cost of energy. For human beings, however, the path of wisdom is different. Instead of burning life energy through constant desire, we can learn to transform it into vitality, creativity, and clarity. By understanding and protecting our essence, we nurture not just the body, but also the mind and soul, preserving the sacred energy that sustains our life. So remember, moderation is not denial, it is mastery. To guard your Jing is to guard your life itself. In nature, many living creatures reveal profound truths about life and energy. Among certain species, males pay the ultimate price for reproduction. Some insects, like the praying mantis, see the male devoured by the female after mating. Even the black widow spider, native to Australia, is known for similar behavior. Male flies and spiders may die shortly after mating. These strange and tragic patterns tell us something remarkable. There is an invisible energy residing within sperm, a mysterious life force that sustains creation itself. So, what lies behind this mystery? Let's explore it from several perspectives. First, no matter how long or short a sexual act lasts, The fatigue after ejaculation tends to feel the same. This shows that the exhaustion does not come from physical effort alone, but from the loss of a vital resource, what scientists refer to as testosterone and seminal essence. Second, certain experiments have revealed something fascinating. When adult hens were fed with semen, their feathers became glossier and smoother. This simple observation demonstrates that semen is extremely rich in nutrients and life-giving substances. Third, within sperm lies a special nutrient component known as spermine, a compound essential for cellular activity and vitality. Yet the quantity and quality of sperm can vary with mental and emotional states. For example, when a man feels nervous or anxious, the number of sperm released is often higher than usual. Meanwhile, studies have found that sperm counts among Jewish and Chinese men tend to be about half that of European men, an interesting reflection of biological and perhaps cultural adaptation. The essence of reproduction is a microscopic competition for survival. In ancient matriarchal societies, it was common for women to have multiple partners within a short period. In such cases, billions of sperm competed within the narrow space of the female reproductive tract for the single opportunity to fertilize an egg. Only the strongest and most resilient sperm would complete the journey to unite with the ovum, fulfilling their ultimate purpose of creation. In a single ejaculation, the number of sperm can reach hundreds of millions, even billions. Yet, in every month of a woman's cycle, only one egg, sometimes two, matures and is released. From a woman's perspective, the number of eggs is fixed from birth and declines gradually with age. Throughout her entire lifetime, only about 400 to 500 eggs fully mature and are ready for fertilization. Thus, the potential for reproduction in women is extremely limited. Men, on the other hand, possess an almost limitless reservoir of creative energy, each sperm carrying the potential spark of life. Research estimates that an average man ejaculates about 5,000 times in his lifetime. With roughly 100 million sperm per release, that equals an astonishing total of 500 billion sperm cells. Yet only a tiny fraction of them are ever used to create new life. What's even more remarkable is that most human sexual activity is not for reproduction at all, but for pleasure and emotional satisfaction. The endless pursuit of pleasure, however, can lead to the waste of reproductive energy, draining the body's vitality and depleting its life force over time. This truth was recognized thousands of years ago by Taoist masters. They understood that excessive sexual indulgence weakens the essence, while moderation transforms desire into strength, awareness, and longevity. In nature, similar patterns exist. Fish, for example, may lay thousands, even millions of eggs, yet only a few survive into adulthood. In humans, the loss of a child is an unbearable grief, a reality as painful as watching white-haired parents bury their young. But within the grand design of life, nature created a system of selection before birth, a way to prevent such sorrow from happening too often. Within a woman's body, sperm must undergo rigorous selection and elimination before conception occurs. Though the process is unseen, it is a silent miracle of life's intelligence. A natural law ensuring that only the strongest essence gives rise to life. Inside the human body, one of the most strategic and vital cells ever created is the sperm cell. It is produced within the seminiferous tubules of the testes, supported by surrounding cells that also secrete male hormones. Sperm carries a high concentration of testosterone and vital enzymes, which play a crucial role not only in the nervous system, spinal marrow, stem cell development, and reproduction, but also in maintaining the overall vitality and function of the human body. In short, sperm is not just a seed of creation. It is the carrier of life's most refined and sacred energy. To waste it without awareness is to waste the very fuel that sustains your strength, clarity, and longevity. Therefore, ancient masters taught: control desire, preserve essence, and transform energy into wisdom. In this balance lies true health, extended life, and the harmony between body and spirit. The human body is an incredible system of balance. It distributes energy among many different subsystems, physical, mental, and reproductive, in a very delicate way. For example, after a young man ejaculates, the body needs about 7 to 9 days to fully recover and reproduce new sperm. As he ages, this recovery time becomes much longer. By the time he reaches 60 years old, it may take nearly 2 months for the body to complete the same process. That's why doctors often advise older men to reduce the frequency of sexual activity. At that age, Overexertion in sex may increase the risk of stroke or sudden death. The ancient people used to say, "From the age of 60, one must protect the essence." In other words, reduce ejaculation to preserve life energy. There's a saying, "The heart is both the door of life and the door of death." It reminds us that sexuality is not only the source of life, but also a major gateway through which our vital energy can be drained. From the perspective of traditional wisdom, essence, Jing and water, are two fundamental life energies, especially in higher animals. High-quality sperm is one of the purest forms of this energy. To prevent unnecessary loss, the body has a clever mechanism. At the moment of climax, it releases sperm together with seminal fluid, preserving as much of the essential energy as possible. In Taoist philosophy, this idea is taken even further. Taoists believe that retaining essence preserves one's internal energy, a foundation for health, longevity, and spiritual growth. They teach that if essence is not lost, it can be refined and transformed into higher energy. So, how can we apply this in daily life? First, learn to replenish essence after any period of exhaustion, physical, emotional, or sexual. When we're young, replenishing this essence helps restore our vitality and extend our lifespan. Once the energy has been restored, the next step is controlling its loss, what Taoists call essence retention. Only when we can truly control this process do we gain mastery over our internal energy, and from there begin deeper forms of cultivation. Eventually, essence can be transformed into invisible qi, nourishing the brain and enhancing mental clarity. This is known as refining essence into qi. This process also explains why women often live longer than men. As Lao Tzu wrote in the Tao Te Ching, "Softness overcomes hardness." Women may appear gentle and fragile, but they often outlive men, a quiet wisdom of nature itself. Even in societies where women have lower social status or less medical care, their life expectancy still tends to be higher. Why is that? One key factor lies in the essence energy. During married life, men constantly transfer this vital energy to the essence to their partners. Over time, this depletion accelerates aging and increases mortality in men. Women, on the other hand, absorb this life energy from their partners. It revitalizes them, helping them maintain youth and strength. When a woman reaches her 50s and enters menopause, her ovaries slow down and menstruation stops. At that point, her body no longer loses energy monthly, it begins to preserve it. Meanwhile, men driven by their stronger nature often continue sexual activity despite declining health, sometimes even using stimulants. This leads to even greater depletion of their essence, which speeds up aging. Excessive sexual activity, especially at a young age when the body is still developing, can severely drain this vital energy, causing fatigue, weakened kidneys, or even long-term health issues. In short, sperm and essence energy have a profound connection to our vitality and lifespan. Understanding and respecting this balance is not about suppression, but about wisdom. It's about preserving the energy of life itself. So remember, your vitality is sacred. Guard it well, replenish it wisely, and live in harmony with the rhythm of nature. Sexual education is not only for the young, it's also deeply important for older adults. In certain conditions, especially when a person is under stress or living in an unfavorable environment, sexual activity can actually trigger serious health problems, including strokes. When a man ejaculates, every pore in the body opens, and energy escapes rapidly. That's why the body becomes more vulnerable during this time. Learning how to control one's sexual energy, or what ancient masters called essence, is therefore essential. The loss of this vital essence doesn't only affect the central nervous system and the brain, it also causes full body fatigue and long-term weakness. This energy depletion happens gradually, but its impact is profound. If left unchecked, it silently weakens the body over the years. According to ancient wisdom, men lose their vital essence roughly every 8 years, while women experience the same decline every 5 years. That's why it's crucial for us to understand this natural rhythm, to respect it, protect it, and replenish our inner energy to maintain health and longevity. There's a story about an emperor who once asked his master, "Why did people in ancient times live such long and healthy lives, while people today begin aging as early as 50? The master replied, "People today drink wine as if it were water. They indulge in desires and drain away the essence of life. They do not know how to maintain balance between body and mind. Their hearts are restless, chasing momentary pleasures, violating the laws of nature, and as a result, their bodies quickly decay. The meaning behind this teaching is simple yet powerful. Most people do not understand the rules of life. They live recklessly, disconnected from nature's rhythm, and their bodies bear the consequences. In The Yellow Emperor's Classic of Medicine, one of the oldest Chinese medical texts, it is written that ignoring the natural way of life weakens the organs, softens the muscles and bones, turns hair gray early, makes one unsteady when walking, and eventually leads to infertility. This is called rapid depletion, the accelerated loss of life energy that shortens our lifespan. By contrast, Lao Tzu taught the concept of slow nourishment, also known as Trung, the art of calm endurance. He emphasized that understanding and following the natural laws allows a person to live in harmony with the universe, attaining peace and longevity. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "To know steadiness is to find strength. To live in harmony with nature is to share the power of heaven and earth. Those who live this way endure forever." In essence, the ancient art of nurturing life can be summarized in two timeless teachings. First, enjoy pleasure in moderation. Harmony brings health and long life. Second, the sage preserves harmony between body and mind, guarding purity and innocence within. These teachings remind us that self-control and moderation are not about restriction, but about wisdom and balance. The great master of life cultivation, Bao Yangzi, once said, "Those who indulge too deeply in beauty, whether through physical desire or emotional attachment, will eventually drain their essence and weaken their body." If one can stay free from these temptations, the vital essence remains strong, allowing both body and mind to return to their natural state of balance. For those on a spiritual path, sexual restraint is even more important. When the body has accumulated enough energy, it becomes the foundation for physical strength, mental clarity, and spiritual awakening. That's why ancient scriptures often say, "Without giving up lustful desire, cultivation is like cooking stones into rice. No matter how long you boil, it will never be done." So, my friends, remember this. Energy is life. When you learn to preserve it, balance it, and transform it, you align yourself with the flow of the universe. If you found today's reflection meaningful, please share it with others, so that this positive energy and ancient wisdom can spread throughout the world. By doing so, you're not only helping others, but also planting the seeds of wisdom and accumulating boundless virtue within yourself.